Good evening, everybody. You're watching the latest edition of the You Get What You Get live stream here on the African American Athlete Facebook page. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with my great friends and co-hosts Tree McDougal and Tim Turner, coming to you on a Tuesday evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Good to see you guys. We got a lot to talk about in the next hour. But first, I want to welcome everybody out there. We appreciate your questions and comments on any other topics that come up tonight. But good evening, Tree and Tim. How are you guys doing?
I am doing great. I'm feeling festive, so clearly, but no complaints whatsoever, sir. Tim?
Yeah, I'm better than Tucker Carlson or Don Lemon, so I think I'm all right. So
Hey, man, you used to always say, you just written that spot, man. You just written. They will come get you at any time.
Heard a comedian make a joke about Tucker Carlson always talking about Mexicans coming to get your jobs, and actually his job was gotten by an Australian. So I was like, ouch. Because Rupert fired him. So I'm like, dang, that's cold.
Hey.
From the top. Yes.
Hey. You know what? Oh, too bad. Oh, well. But you know, they'll just slide another guy in there.
Oh, they will. Because, see, they've lost major talent before. How are they going to recover from Bill O'Reilly? Have you even heard of Bill? You ever see Bill O'Reilly anymore? How are they going to recover from Glenn Beck? Okay.
Yeah. Rush Limbaugh dies. Just say.
Well, they showed it. I mean, they had repeats of Rush for about a month, and then it's like, okay, and it gives you an idea of the impact that he's had because he's never even mentioned anymore. It's like he was an afterthought.
Yeah,
so just vanished.
That hateful man has a Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Well, that's because it was in there. That's why the rest of them are pretty much tarnished afterwards.
Yeah,
like, hey, you gave one.
It means nothing now, right?
That's right. You gave one to Bullwinkle. What's up with this?
It just cheapened it, huh?
Very much so.
But if you got one, you take it, though. If you got one, you take it, though.
If you'll call me up there right now, I'd be like, sure. What's it for? But I'll take it.
But you know what, guys? We lost the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award winner who definitely deserved that honor. The passing of an icon in our nation's history, Mr. Harry Belafonte. I want to play this little clip about Mr. Belafonte, who passed away at age 96 today.
Belafonte really discovered his voice. He used his fame as a platform for change. CBS 2's Dana Tyler reports. Harry Belafonte's iconic boom set him on a journey to stardom.
Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana.
The 1956 album Calypso is in the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry. Belafonte sings of struggles for laborers in Jamaica, where he spent some of his childhood. As he told CBS News in 2018, the song had a special place in his heart.
Most of my family in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, were plantation workers. Singing was a big part of the culture because it helped with the tediousness of working in the sun.
With a smooth barrel burst to sell the million album, a milestone during segregation.
This my island in the sun.
Harry Belafonte was born in Harlem in 1927 and grew up on 114th Street. He served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. After the military, he and took a job as a janitor's assistant. A tenant gave him 2 tickets to see a play at the American Negro Theater, which was in the basement of the Schomburg Library in Harlem. it would change his life.
I looked and saw players on the stage, library in Harlem, saying things and doing things that just absolutely overwhelmed me. Young artists, Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee, were two of the performers that I saw.
He would meet Sidney Poitier, and they would become lifelong friends. Belafonte said it was the theater that shaped his sense of purpose.
I was an activist, law activist, but it was looking at art and what I discovered in this theater that I found a place where my activism could be nourished.
The actor made his Broadway debut in 1953's John Murray Anderson's Almanac, and the award for Best Featured Actor in a Musical. Belafonte got his first movie role in Bright Road, opposite Dorothy Dandridge. The next year, the two appeared on screen again in Carmen Jones.
It's a long night, pretty boy. I'm not going anywhere.
In 1960, the entertainer won a Grammy Award for Best Folk Performance, and that same year, he would win an Emmy Award for Outstanding Performance in a Variety Series. And Belafonte was just getting started. But art and activism would be his life and legacy. He was close friends with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and spoke at the 1963 March on Washington.
To be in Washington was for me today a beginning, really, kind of a climax, generations of hope.
Whether there's passionate about the justice for all. In 1987, a Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Children's Fund. And in 2014, he received an honorary Academy Award for his humanitarian work. And the 115th Street branch of the New York Public Library was renamed in his honor in 2017.
I've done a lot in my life, but this particular ceremony has deeper resonance and deeper meaning than I think many of you would realize.
We were having a little technical difficulty with some of that, but I think you got the gist. What an utterly remarkable man, Tree.
Yeah, such longevity in his career. That when I was young, watching him and then see his work, with Dr. King and the civil rights movement, and just what a great talent. And then, his daughter, Sherry, was also, prominent as well, and other children, I'm sure. But yeah, he was such a great person that I admired, as long as I can remember.
Yeah, he was outstanding, and I had a bunch of notes here, but it's like she covered all of them in that clip, just about. The one that she didn't cover was the one I was. I think people think it's all schmaltzy and they think the song is trash, but I really like USA for Africa's "We Are the World," and I love looking at the video and the talent in that room, and seeing the making of that video and him setting it up, Quincy bringing him in to set it up, to let the people know it's like, this isn't just some song. This is about helping people who are having real issues in Africa. And, the tears that were flowing over that, and it seemed like it centered people to do what was right in terms of making that video. And what he's just done so much over the years. One quote thing about it was that Carmen Jones, I thought he and Dandridge were singers in that. And I understand that they had other people singing for them, so that was lip synced, and they did a really good job of it. But that was another fabulous movie, seeing people that looked like us, and and I could imagine the glee of the people at that time seeing movies like that. And it's still exciting to this day to see movies like that with us in there. But just in that period where they didn't have the same opportunities and freedoms that we did. The idea that he saw something in a basement of a library, and that was for the colored arts program, as opposed to being out somewhere.
Yeah, seeing, being inspired by Ruby Dee and Ozzy, just you could, those legacies just pass on, and you look at so many great actors and artists of color we have today. They all stand on his shoulders, and those legends like him, men and women who came before. Uh, uh, just a great band. You know, he will be missed. He left a legacy, though.
Absolutely.
He
Yeah.
left 96 years old.
It's the activism that really is the indelible part there, because he was in the Mississippi Delta. He funded a lot of things that were going on during the civil rights movement. He was behind the scenes. You look at people, you hear stuff later on about what people did, like how he helped with the March on Washington. Heck, I understand that Bill Cosby bought the sound system for the March on Washington. I mean, you hear stuff like this after the fact. You don't know who did what. But he was always in the front. He didn't shy away from conflict, and where you it would really cost people back in those days. Whereas you have far more freedom, and people are far more silent to social issues.
I think I also read that he would, when people needed to be bailed out of jail during the civil rights movement, he would send money for that. So very much involved in it in ways that perhaps not everyone understood or actually knew
And
about.
all the way up to
it is a great loss.
And all the way up to We Are the World, which raised $62 million to fight famine.
So,
Right.
So hey, Harry Belafonte, 1927 to 2023. I just thought, and we all did, we thought it's no way we could open this show tonight and not pay our respects to his legacy and his accomplishments in life. And now let's move on, man, because it's a lot going on in the world of sports this week. We got NBA playoffs, and we're gonna have a lot of young men become very wealthy in a couple of days. Tree and Tim. I was hoping there were some Hamptons that were going to be drafted. See if I had some cousins or something, some nephews or something getting drafted. But doggone it, I hadn't seen any yet. But the NFL draft is Thursday, and one of the interesting things to me is what's going to happen at the quarterback position, where there are 4 or 5 guys who are sitting at the top of the charts in terms of quarterback prospects. And 4 of those 5 are African-American quarterbacks, with Kentucky's Will Levis being the other guy. That guy got some film of these guys. Tim, your thoughts on the draft overall and what's happening at the top of the draft?
Well, I think yesterday
What
it
do you
changed
think's
a bit.
going to happen at the top?
Well, at the top, I mean, it's I think it was a couple of days ago where Bryce Young canceled he had 6 remaining visits to NFL teams, and he canceled them. So obviously Carolina said something, or the number 2 team, I think it's Texas, is behind him. Somebody up there said, if you're there, we're going to get you. And I think it's interesting to see a guy like him go. And it's always as if someone's trying to knock folks. You hear more lies, more rumors, more bad things about people. And I think it's to try to set folks up to not draft people so they can draft them. They'll make all these rumors and whatnot.
Sure.
Bryce Young is, huh? You say, Rick?
No, I'm saying for sure.
Oh, yeah. But at the same time, I think that people are going to they're going to draft for need, you would hope. And you're seeing pictures of stuff like you see Stroud there with a dime to the people out there playing against Arkansas State. I mean, granted, that's probably one of those money games early the first part of the year. Nonetheless, it still shows off his arm talent. I think there's a bunch of great guys. Hooker, I saw very little of him. The last time I saw him, he got his knee injured. So, but I've seen video of him since then, and it seems like these guys are just terrific. And a lot of these guys I think, will be first-year starters. Levis as well for Kentucky. He's gained a ton of muscle since the end of last season. And he looks terrific. And people are saying that he may, the rumors like, Stroud, Young, and Levis are the guys that may go number one. And then whoever's left is, and depending on the need for the other teams, is down the draft.
But Tim, do you think that, wherever he ends up, he'll need a good offensive line? Might be difficult depending on which bad team he is on. So what are your thoughts on that? Are you
right? I think if Young goes to Carolina, they're going to have a decent O-line, but he has some weapons around him that I think that they're going to be they'll help him. My thing is, any one of those guys that goes, I'm a Falcon fan, and that makes my quarterback is the worst one in the conference automatically, because whoever they pick is going to be better than our guy. New Orleans is better with Derek Carr, and Tampa Bay. Well, they're even better with Baker Mayfield. I think he's better than our guy. So I don't like anybody in my division getting better, and I think either one of these quarterbacks instantly makes Carolina a better team.
True.
You got any concerns about Bryce Young's size?
What, Reed? I think I messaged you something about that earlier about the size of these guys.
You did. I think he's like 5'10" and a quarter. But there are other quarterbacks who.
Do you have an issue with that? If you are.
No, I don't, because there are other quarterbacks. Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. They won Super Bowls. Kyler Murray. Yeah, so I think that I don't have any concerns about him and his height.
Yeah, 5'10" and a quarter, and then he's like 206. That's the thing. I think
204.
204 or 204.
204. Yeah,
that's the thing that's more a problem than anything else, because he's going to get beat up. Even if he gets, he throws the ball, people are going to put licks on him. He's going to take a pounding constantly. And you see Tua. Was talking about he thought about retiring last year from the 2 concussions he took, and he's a bigger ball player, and so you worry about that. He's elusive though. He's an athletic guy. He can get out of the way. I never saw Bryce Young take a big hit.
Yeah.
So I think that he knows what he's doing out there. He knows that he's not a big guy, and he won't take the punishment. He's not like a Richardson, who's just like a physical freak. And then he's being drafted on his intangibles, I think, more his potential, because he wasn't that great of a percentage passer at Florida. They didn't play many big games, and he wasn't remarkable in any way in any game that I saw him play. I saw Georgia just take him to town in the world's biggest cocktail party over there in Jacksonville. So,
but Richardson's smart, right? He's a smart player.
He is. Yeah.
He just needs the right coaching.
And that's the thing. It depends on where he goes. If he were to go to Carolina, you would think that would be great for him, because Frank Wright is a first-year coach and he's a former quarterback. If you got somebody who's a great mentor on the bench to help the guy get better, that would be great. You're saying he needs to be coached up. And that's the thing, because I'm thinking about the guy at LSU several years ago who was a physical specimen, a freak that went to Oakland.
Oh, my gosh. I'll get his name.
Yeah. But he was the biggest quarterback bust I think ever, and it was just painful because they drafted him.
DeMarcus Russell.
DeMarcus Russell. They drafted him on potential, and all he did was get that like $30 million in guaranteed money or whatever the deal was, or however much money you gave quarterbacks. That was before they started having the slot salaries and not just give guys the moon. But you think about that with Richardson, some of that you think about that. Stroud, people are starting to say that some whispers about him for some reason that he won't be good. It's a great class of quarterbacks. You got these guys. I've heard of this guy Jake Hayner at Fresno State. He's supposed to be really tight. I'm not a big Stetson Bennett fan, although he's won the last 2 national championships. He's made some really boneheaded off the field moves. Where do
you think he'll go in the draft?
The most natural fit for him will be like a 3rd-day draft pick, and his old offensive coordinator is now the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, and I think they may be having a bit of a quarterback problem right now in Baltimore with Lamar still having signed. His mama hadn't helped him sign his contract yet. Tree, so.
I'm not going to talk about that man's mama. On behalf of all moms, and I'm not one, but
I got you. But I was just saying that he still hasn't got. So Baltimore will probably be a really good fit for him. The thing that surprised me was, everybody thought this Duggan kid from TCU was a world beater, and he's not even listed as somebody that's going to go pretty high, which was I guess after seeing him in the championship game where he looked like he was shell-shocked and terrified, that would help. That's the lasting impression you have if you're not going to the Senior Bowl or or something. Last thing you saw him, he was up there, running for his life. So
he had a good excuse to be terrified in the championship game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, they didn't belong in that game. TCU that was just a fraud. It was like when Notre Dame
against that Georgia defense.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of Georgia defense, you got this kid Jalen Carter, who has made some missteps since the championship game, being involved in the with the kid that was killed in the auto accident, coming into the combine looking like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and he couldn't finish the drills during his pro day, and there was some red flags that it's like, you're going to be more of what you already are with that kind of money, because that's all your job is to play football and to have money. And how's that going?
You wouldn't draft him. You wouldn't draft him in the top 10.
I would draft him in a heartbeat, just for the mere fact that it would get people off the Falcons' back, because they notoriously do not draft University of Georgia players, and so when they draft one who turns out to be a bust, that will silence the people for a while. But really, I think he's extremely talented. He's probably the most talented player, defensive lineman in the draft. There's a kid out of Texas Tech. I can't think of his name now.
Tyree. Tyree Wilson.
I think that's what it is.
The defensive end.
Yeah, he's going to be a game wrecker type of guy, as will the kid from Alabama, Will Anderson. So you look at those
he'd be a good addition.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, he'd be a good addition to any team.
Yes, absolutely.
Will Anderson.
You know what?
Yeah,
but you know what, Tree and Tim, to me, the interesting thing is, and Tim, I believe you touched on it earlier, is how all these things get out about these young men before the draft. Some of it is total BS. Some of it, the real concerns, like the stuff you mentioned about Jalen Carter, real concerns. So it's always interesting to see how teams dig through that to find the truth. And some of the stuff is insulting. I remember years ago, not that long ago, Des Bryant said somebody asked him if his mother was a hooker or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it was the Dolphins or somebody like that asked him in the interview process something to that effect, and that just mystifies me that they would do that.
Dolphins.
Yes, Dolphins.
Yeah, but I get, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to see Jalen Carter. I think he was on Real Sports, his interview.
I did not see that.
No.
Yeah, he's in an interview on Real Sports, and he kind of admitted that his issue might cost him a few spots in the draft. But I really like the way he handled himself in that interview. Of course, he had Drew Rosen with him, so he had been prepared for that interview.
Yeah.
Also, I would definitely take a chance on the guy.
Oh yeah, I would.
Here in Detroit. And in fact, I think if he's around at 6, I don't think he'll get past the Lions. He is
Oh
although
my gosh, if you get Hutchinson and Carter, oh man,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
tough.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see about that. But you also mentioned Tua.
Right.
And if you're the Dolphins, aren't you concerned to hear him talk about,
Retirement.
man, I almost retired last year?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, that was the thing. I'm going. You were that close to quitting football. Do you really want to play football? That's the question. Do you want to play football? But I say this from somebody who's sitting up here not getting hammered by these guys that are 6'6", 350 pounds, hitting you play after play after play.
Right.
You know, you saw that when one concussion where his appendages all seized up, his hands were flailing. Some neurological damage was done there for momentarily. And is it worth it? Because I didn't. Number one, I didn't know he's married. Number two, I didn't know he had a kid. But he was talking about being available to his wife and his kid.
Yeah, I'm not going to question his thought of whether he you said, does he really want to play? But you have to think he's probably thinking long term.
Exactly.
Health-wise with his family. So
Oh,
I wouldn't fault him if he stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I'm the Dolphins, I'm looking at some of these quarterbacks in the draft. If they weren't thinking about somebody, maybe it wouldn't be the first round, I'm sure, but the second or third day, don't be surprised if the Dolphins get a guy and try to develop. Because number one, Tua, the next hit might be the end anyway. And he might do like the old Richard Pryor thing when he was boxing. He's talking about as the check in the
boom, and he's gone. But he seems like a kid that has a little bit more integrity than that, than just to take a check and not fulfill his obligation. But yeah, there's just tons of QBs here in this first round, and I know there's some guys you would look at as can't miss folks.
The guy that fought Tank Davis the other night, Garcia, pretty much did the Richard Pryor thing. Garcia hit him with a body shot, and he took it, and he thought about it a minute. He said, "You know what? Let me go down on one knee." and that was it, man. He said,
"Check, please."
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, but it's all this goes on now in the game. So many of us enjoy during the falls. It is such a tradition, but this stuff treat is big business.
It is. You know what I'm looking forward to? The outfits.
See, and I was going to go like I will determine whether or not how much money I get to see what kind of suits they wear. If you come up with those Bailey Rose Reds suits, made out of some sort of like gold lame, some sort of deal. They have these interesting suits.
It's their big night to shine. And sometimes they do shine.
Operative word is shine, yes.
Yes, shine.
They're going to be tight, and they're going to be wearing high waters.
Right.
That's the style for the young kids.
You used to laugh at Pee Wee, but no longer. You used to laugh at Pee Wee Herman. Now kids are wearing that to the prom.
Yeah.
So so
I
we're
like
done with that.
I like it.
Tim is right. That's the Pee Wee Herman look.
Yes.
Actually, it's
I thought about it, but I like it.
Yes, it's the jam. One guy we hadn't talked about before. It's a running back. I know the people are saying Falcons going offensive line, or they're going to take this guy Bijan Robinson, who's a running back of Texas. And I only mentioned his name. I was like, why does that name sound so familiar? I'm like, man, I used to wear Bijan in the 80s. So that's I was looking at it like it's spelled like the cologne, Bijan Robinson.
Okay, I don't know that cologne. Do you know that cologne, Ricky?
I do not know that cologne.
It had a circle in the center of the bottle with a white cap, but it was like all the rage in the 80s.
Was that next
Maybe
to
that's
Old
where they got the
Spice?
name.
Was that
And I
next
think
to Old Spice?
it's next to high karate. Yes, it's next to that one. But no, this kid is supposed to be like an excellent running back. But I think when you look at people like Saquon Barkley, people are not trying to give him his money. You got Elliott still out there. Nobody signed him. Running backs aren't the premium commodities they used to be. People are now spending all their money on quarterbacks and defense and some game-changing receivers. Running backs are kind of like down the totem pole, down the pecking order, please.
So if Barry Sanders was coming out this year, he wouldn't be a first-round pick.
He wouldn't. He probably wouldn't. He's skating. People will be wondering, man, how did he slide down? Because everybody mimics everybody else. Now everybody wants a running quarterback. They see, it feels like Sam Cunningham against Alabama. We got to get me some of them, that kind of thing. They see a guy with a running quarterback. We got to get one. Almost everybody will do that. My Falcons didn't. We had Matt Ryan, who was a statue. But you had people like Cam Newton was running around out there. Drew Brees could run. There guys. Kyler Murray is just incredibly elusive. And you see the guys that are out there, Justin Fields in Chicago. They're going to make plays with their legs, and that's what people are looking for now with a lot of this run-pass option stuff that people are going to be running. So Stroud could do it. Young can do it.
Who was the first person who was the model for that? Who started that?
Oh, I want to say Warren Moon.
Because Warren could get around a little bit, but Randall could really.
Randall Cunningham was like,
really,
oh my gosh, he was a magician.
Yeah, he could really get around.
Yeah.
So he was probably the most effective early on. But you go back in the day, the Bears had this left-handed guy,
Vince Evans.
No, Bobby Douglas.
Bobby Douglas. Oh, he's a guy. He's a 1,000-yard rusher as a quarterback.
For 1,000 yards, and he probably threw for 12 yards.
Yeah,
I mean, he could not throw the football at all. These guys are far more polished, and
right.
and this is why I think we're watching the influx of the black quarterback now too, because people want that dual threat that a lot of the black quarterbacks happen to have, and these guys are far more polished than the guys that like a Bobby Douglas. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. Hey, before we move on to a little NBA playoff, big trade in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is finally gone. He came out of the dark room or wherever he was.
He's in that cave.
Now he's in the bright lights. Now he's on Broadway.
Yes. I don't think the media will be as kind, do you, in New York as they were?
No.
No.
No, this won't be the Green Bay media he'll be dealing with.
Well, number one, people are going to bring up the stuff that I'm thinking about right now. He has some really interesting ideas about the conspiracy theory behind 9/11. Yeah, you want to really go into New York with that kind of foolishness. So you really want to do that.
Good luck on that, partner.
Yeah. So, but it changes the draft. I mean, and people that now the Jets don't need a quarterback. They just drafted a quarterback last year who stank it up, and he had a bunch of off-field stuff as well. So, I mean, what are they going to do? They're paying him a boatload of money. They're going to have to pay Rodgers a boatload of money.
Guess they got a boatload of money.
They must have a cruise ship, probably.
But Rodgers, I think he makes 50. He makes $50 million. He'll make 50.
Something ridiculous like that for sure.
So your roster, we know they're gonna kick all that down the road, but they better win real quick because Rodgers, he is diminishing. I saw him live here in Detroit. He's not the same guy. He's still obviously a good quarterback, but he is not the same guy that I saw earlier in his career. So you better win now.
Right.
And normally when those things happen, they just don't go as smooth as everybody thinks.
Well, it is. You know he's going to come in there wanting to do things his way, and you have a pretty regularly a weak division. The Dolphins are so-so. The Patriots are so-so, but the Bills are going to be the chief problem up there. So, I mean, how he plays against them, I can't see him beating those guys twice a year. I can't. So I haven't seen the Jets schedule. I don't know how easy, how difficult or easy it's going to be, projecting. It's just going to be interesting to see what they do up there, because I think that takes some of the shine off of the Giants and whatever they're trying to do, because I think they made the playoffs last year.
The Giants made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, so it takes some of the shine off of those guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have a better idea how everybody is set up after Thursday, after this weekend.
Well, after this weekend, because Sunday is when it, and then after the draft ends on Sunday, all the HBCU players get those phone calls for those free agent contracts. So, they get them on the cheap, because nobody can play if you're in an HBCU school. Very seldom do you find people that are drafted high.
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. But was there a time when they were ever drafted high?
Oh, back in the day.
Walter
Payton and Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Jackie Slater.
Shannon Sharp?
Pardon?
Shannon Sharp?
He wasn't a high draft pick, but, I mean, granted, gosh, somebody out of the SIAC, that's like, that's crazy talk from that division. Because I think when he played, they were Division II. It might have just been Division II. So those are things people call those folks sleepers or raw. They always call people raw who comes out of these HBCUs because they don't want to pay you. You can be a bust from a major college. You can't be a bust from the SWAC or somebody like that. Doug is a first rounder. Steve McNair is a first round quarterback. You see those type of things, and those are such outliers.
Yeah. Because what do we have? We have maybe is it like 30 guys from HBCU in the Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah, and most of that was like prior to the 80s. Just about. I think Mike Strahan and Aeneas Williams are the last two from the SWAC, and those guys played in the 80s. I was in Jackson and watched those guys play.
And it kind of goes along with integration of schools.
Right.
The level of play and the great players, and then
mid-major explosions. Those teams where you get those like Chattanooga and App State and that kind of stuff, where they have more options. Boise State, they have more options. Central Florida, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They always say, well, if you're really great, they'll find you no matter where you are. Do you see that happening in any HBCUs in the future?
Oh, yeah,
Immediate future. Not this draft, but
they'll find you. I think Jackson State may have some players the remaining Jackson State players. We want to hit on that in a second about their coach Sanders and the impact he's making at Colorado. But I think this SWAC will have some players.
Yeah, I have some. I'm actually searching for this this video I have of their spring game in Colorado.
But you know what happened after the spring game, right?
7,000.
What happened?
18 players entered the transfer portal after the spring game.
I'm in the Rockies.
Oh, no, I missed that.
That's where they get to go and go to any school they want to. They said, I don't want to be here in Colorado, so let's. I'm getting ready to go. And is it snowing in the spring game in Colorado?
Snowing in the spring game in Colorado.
Oh heavens! That doesn't sell it for me. But since Deion has come, there are 41 players from Colorado have entered the transfer portal. 18 as of Saturday. Wow. He has 20 scholarship players right now. Available 85 scholarships.
Yeah.
What do you think happened?
Well, I really wish I knew. I know when he first got there, he told folks, a lot of y'all not gonna be here. You might as well go ahead and get into the portal.
Mm,
So they took
gotcha.
it for his word. Like that cat right there who's scoring. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
no longer there. You know, they probably saw that it was snowing in April, and decided to go elsewhere.
Yeah, that would drive me out for sure.
This
What?
is this is really going to be a challenge for him to build that program. But I don't put nothing by the guy, man.
Oh no, I
He
don't
is
even.
a
But I can't
No, he'll be able
imagine.
to. No, go ahead, Tim.
No, I can't imagine 40 players coming in to make up to help round out this roster that will make an impact.
No, I think it's going to be have to,
yeah.
be building this team and program. So, and maybe that's why he
He's going
said
to
it. He
have.
wanted to build his own team,
But yeah,
build his
Well,
own,
I think
program.
I think I sent you guys that text the other day.
what bothers me is if I'm the quarter, if I've been working hard and playing hard with this stuff, and he comes in and tells these other quarterbacks he's going to have to transfer out because his son's going to start.
Mm,
And is that fair? Granted, I mean, life's not fair, and these kids are learning a very hard lesson about this. But nonetheless, I mean, you feel like those kids they put in just as much work.
yeah.
Although his son's pretty damn good, I gotta say,
He is.
he is pretty damn
He's good,
good.
but it's like, come on.
And I sent you guys the information the other day. As of I think it was Monday, I sent you guys the text. There are 2,373
Players.
kids in Division One football portal. There's 1,500, 1,550 men in the basketball portal at the Division One level. 2,300 guys in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I don't see
Is
that.
Okay,
There's
well, you don't
not that much opportunity out there for kids.
no.
And I think it's a lot easier for position players to do that than quarterbacks this time of year. Because this is the second transfer portal period. After everybody makes these spring games, and these kids are saying that they're not, they didn't get the reps or the playing time in the spring games, that should be handwriting on the wall.
So
Is this the most ever?
Pardon me?
Is this the most ever in the transfer portal?
I think it's only been around a couple of years, so I'm thinking, yeah, it probably is the most
and I think Tree next year will be the most ever.
Yeah, each
Just keep growing.
Yeah.
I think next year will be the most ever. So he'll go find some guys. You got 2,300 guys to choose from, plus your incoming class. Will they all be quality players?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and could they possibly be quality players this late in the game?
Yeah.
I mean, if they're any good, they're playing somewhere else right now. And it's not all, granted, like Georgia lost a bunch of kids to the portal because they knew they weren't going to play. And they're, really great ball players. Like this one kid just left going to SC, a great defensive lineman. But those things are rare. You're going from one Power 5 school to another Power 5 school, and an upper echelon Power 5. Who wants to go to Colorado?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
he's the draw.
Dion's job, right? To make people want to go there. And of course, the Pac-12 is
disintegrating because they won't have, they'll have SC and UCLA are leaving, going to the Big Ten. It still blows my mind.
That is a joke, man.
Yeah. Two California teams are talking about being in the Midwest.
They're going to be in Ann Arbor every year.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them to come to Ann Arbor in November. I mean,
yeah.
I go to East Lansing in November.
A little chilly.
Yeah, a little chilly.
A little chilly. Just a little bit.
But the transfer portal, and we want to get to this NBA stuff for sure. But that transfer portal, and we've discussed it before. I definitely think kids should have that opportunity, but I definitely think there's also a negative side to it. Why are you frowning about that, Tim?
No, it
You're
wasn't
watching
that.
the Hawk,
No, I
watching
flipped over. The Hawks are up by a point over the Celtics with 9 seconds left.
I know. I was going to tell you that. I'm over here. I'm watching on the side.
Okay.
They're
So
seconds away.
you're taking a timeout from
Seconds away.
you're taking a timeout from you get what you get to see what the
I
Celtics.
was dying. I was going,
Yeah.
what?
You weren't paying attention? I thought
But
surely
you
you
know what's
were.
going to happen? Somebody's going to get fouled and hit 2 free throws, and the game's going to be over.
Yes.
I can't imagine them going back to Atlanta.
I don't know. You're going to see. But
Sorry, a blocking foul.
No, just keep us updated. Keep us updated.
keep us updated. Well, they're in play right now, so somebody's
They say
going to
it's
mess
a block.
up.
He should have been standing still. It's a block. Trey run up under him.
6 seconds. 6.5 seconds.
Well, you know what? Well, I do guess
They should challenge that because it was a charge.
Well, people
Not
can't
that I'm
see
a
what we're
homer or
talking
anything.
about.
What challenge? What, Tim? Keep us.
Trey Young went underneath a Celtic player, and they called a blocking foul with 6-point-something seconds left. Which means it's probably
I didn't think they were going to do this well without DJ Murray.
The Hawks are going to challenge the play.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to, without Murray, who was suspended.
You're right. I thought that was just a stupid thing to do to bump a referee. Who does that?
Murray did,
Yeah.
but you see you get what you get. So for him, he got suspended.
Yeah, he got suspended.
We've seen a lot of.
It just didn't make any sense.
In the,
and then you see what Steph Curry pulled a Chris Webber on Sunday. They didn't have any more timeouts, and that could have very well cost them the game against Sacramento.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
and
there's so many elimination games tonight.
Well, we got the Hawks are trying to stave off elimination here, and next
it's 7.3 seconds. They put some time back on the clock.
Okay.
And the game following this is I think the Clippers. No, Minnesota plays tonight. They're trying to hold on.
So this guy with the really unusual hairline is going to the free throw line right now.
And Derek White.
And he'll probably hit 2 free throws.
Why you got to talk about his unusual?
Because when you take the headband off, it looks the same way.
And
I saw the post-game interview. I'm like, wow. Just wow.
Tim, be kind. Be kind.
I will be kind.
I haven't seen it, so now I'm curious. I got to see it without the headband. I haven't seen it without. So.
We got
the headband off. It is right there. It's a lot of real estate.
Looks like the second game of the night is going on, and the Nuggets and Timberwolves in the second quarter, still early there, 34-29. Minnesota. I would expect Denver to win that one, but I think the game of the day yesterday was the performance of Jimmy Butler.
Oh yeah, Jimmy. I think he scored 21 straight points at one time.
He was. He scored 18 straight.
56 points.
Yeah, a 56-point night to lead the 8 seed Heat past the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks were up 15 in that game and looked like they were going to just cruise home. They got Giannis back, and they were in total control until Jimmy said, "You're no longer in control." And they stole that game, and now they're up 3-1 in this series.
Yeah.
And nobody could be happier about that than the Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, they get the rest.
Yeah, they do. And I'm sure they'd rather play Miami than Boston. Although Jimmy Butler ate them up the last time they played. You remember when he played there?
Yeah.
And the Sixers signed Tobias Harris instead of him. And he had to think, you guys signed Tobias Harris over me?
Well, Harris says I don't think Well, he hasn't been a disappointment. He's just not Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's a good player, but he's not Jimmy Butler.
No, he's
Jimmy
nowhere
Butler's
close.
good.
See, that's when you know it's going good. You just
Throwing him up there.
you just throwing them up there.
Yeah, he was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And it's like it was unconscious.
Yeah, 56 points.
That's beautiful to watch.
Trey hits a long three with 1.8 seconds to go. The Hawks are up by 2 with 1.8 seconds left.
My TV must be a little bit behind my phone. That is a good shot.
He was voted most overrated player in the league. So
absolutely
take that, voters.
And he was voted the 11th best guard in his conference, not the 11th best player in the league, the 11th best player in the conference. So this means the Hawks will be coming back, I guess, Friday night in Atlanta, which is that Celtics probably never envisioned having to hop back on a plane tomorrow morning coming to Atlanta for another game.
You know what? Brothers ain't never too mad when they come into Atlanta.
True that.
Never too mad when they come to Atlanta.
So, from the dawn of Freaknik.
Something else.
Yeah.
Like going all the way back to Freaknik. They love coming to Atlanta.
Coming to Atlanta.
We're mad. Can we just leave tonight? And let's go straight to the game now. So, that is a surprise. And kudos to Trey Young. That's 38 points. 13
He's been catching heat from everybody. By everybody, I mean me.
I was going to say, you're like the main. You want him off my team. I want him off my team. Main objector.
I want him off my team because you can't survive on those 90-foot shots like that.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay, they got half a second left to go in the game.
They got it in the half court.
They're going to get some tall people in there to try to do an alley-oop with 0.5 seconds to go.
What you think, Tim? What you think?
I think that somebody's going to get fouled. They're going to get free throws, and the Hawks will lose by 1. Well, no, they're up by 2, so
they're up by 2.
2 free throws just tie the game. Hawks are up by 2 in the 30 seconds.
Call it.
But as Hawk luck will have it, somebody will hit a 3 as opposed to get fouled and get 2.
Now, Tim, I know LeBron James is not your favorite player, but this guy, I mean, at 38 years old.
Hawks win by 2. Who's not my favorite player?
You said LeBron.
James. I'm not a big fan.
I like LeBron, but I'm especially this year because I think he's really. This is probably the toughest assignment he's had to have in his career, because AD is not healthy, and LeBron has had to do a lot more with less. And I respect that about him this year, and plus they're playing some really, really tough. Memphis, I thought, would just run away with these guys, and they're up 3-1. They're about to eliminate Memphis.
But what did you think about Dylan Brooks calling him out, calling him an old man and all that?
Well, he learned his lesson about calling him old man, didn't he?
I think it fired him up even more so.
I thought
he made 20 rebounds, 22. What was it? 20. Yeah, whatever it was. It was
20 rebounds. Yeah.
Yeah, and it added up to 40. So yeah.
That's 40, isn't it?
That's 40.
But
right there.
You know what I think he did though? I think he lost game. This is game 4. Game 3, the Lakers came out so jacked. They built such a huge lead. Memphis actually outplayed him the rest of the game.
Yeah.
You were down 35-9. And I think that was on Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, well, they had to expend a lot of energy to catch up, and it's like, but you getting Ja is nowhere near healthy. He fell on his hand last night, and I thought he was done, but he came back.
And the thing with that it wasn't LeBron taking that. I mean, he's 38-year-old man. He ain't in all that stuff. But his teammates were jacked up.
Right.
And he came out and played so great early in that game. And they just held on last night.
You mean you look at all these elimination games. The Nuggets can take out Denver tonight. The Clippers, the Suns could take out the Clippers. I mean, my goodness. Load management is just a load of crap. Because this guy, Kawhi Leonard, can't stay on the floor. I mean, what's the deal?
What's the deal? So like Jerry Seinfeld.
Don't you think he should try?
What's that?
Don't you think he should try to play?
I think he should try to play, but there's some off the court stuff with him as well. You've seen that story.
Yeah.
Where his sister was just sentenced for murder.
Yeah.
His sister was murdered?
No, sentenced for murder. She and this other woman, they beat up this lady was it in Vegas?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, so they got in trouble. So I'm thinking basketball is probably the furthest thing from his mind, in addition to being hurt. So he gets some latitude with that. With the off the court stuff can really trump what's going on the court. And tomorrow night the Knicks could take out Cleveland, Lakers could take out Memphis, and the Heat could take out Milwaukee. I mean, everybody's on the brink right now. Somebody's going fishing soon.
I think Milwaukee, if Giannis, if he's hurt, I mean, think about it, they've only had him 2 games.
Right. You're right.
If he's back all the way, they are capable of coming back from 3-1. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say about Jalen Brunson, though. Do you think he's been like the best player in the series, or?
Oh,
without a doubt. Without a doubt, he's been the best. The Knicks, people keep pumping up Julius Randle. He hadn't been the guy. He's been invisible. It's been Brunson. It's been R.J. Barrett. It hadn't been Randle at all.
So I guess Dallas wish they had paid him to keep him.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. But the deal is that the story out there is that it was like collusion on the part of the Knicks to get him. Number one, Brunson's from New York, so there wasn't like it was a bridge too far for him to try to get to play ball there. So people want to go home sometimes.
Yeah, but think about it. When they traded for Kyrie Irving, they were the number 4 seed.
Yeah.
And by the time it was over, they didn't even make the play-in.
He's a dream killer. No. But yeah, Kyrie and Luka never really gelled like they were hoping that would happen.
Right.
And is Kyrie a free agent this summer?
I believe he is.
Yeah, so they rented him for a playoff push that never happened.
Right.
And then then they got fined $700,000 for tanking because they didn't want to make the playoffs.
I don't know. I don't know how do you know somebody's tanking in the NBA nowadays?
Well, they sat Kyrie and Luka and somebody else. They sat a bunch of people the last game.
Yeah.
It was kind of obvious that they weren't trying to win that game because the coach was like, "Hey, that's upper management has told me to play these guys," and you try to wash your hands of it. This is a bad look, which is why the NBA fined them. But it makes great business sense because they got this what's it, Wambe, whatever the guy's name is coming out next year.
Yeah.
And everybody wants it. You wonder if it's worth it to make the playoffs or get in the play-in game or something like that, or just be awful and have it, 1 in 11 chance of getting the guy a generational type player. So.
So having watching the game so far, what do you think about Golden State's chances to get back to champions?
They better start winning on the road to get out of this series. They were terrible. They were, I think, 11, either 10 or 32 on the road. You play 41 road games, 10 and 31. or 11-30 on the road. That's too good a team to be that bad on the road. But for some reason,
they're home. They're home on. Aren't they at home on this tomorrow night?
They're home. No, they're in Sacramento tonight.
Okay, well I got them backwards then. Yeah, so
because Sacramento is the 3 seed.
Right. So Sacramento. So they
got to find a way to win.
5 and 7 will be in Sacramento. So yeah, Golden State's got to find a way to win in Sacramento. The deal is that De'Aaron Fox, who's been just incredible for the Kings, he broke his hand, broke a finger, and they initially ruled him out. And I saw something later this season where he said, "I'm going to play."
Yeah.
So every time he goes up or he touches the ball, they're going to slap down on that finger.
Absolutely.
It's going to happen.
And you know what's funny? How you get lost in this league? Because I was hearing people, where'd this guy come from? De'Aaron Fox been in the league 5 years, man.
Yeah.
He's been playing in Sacramento at 11 o'clock at night every night.
And that's the thing. Outside of Damian Lillard and Golden State Warriors and LeBron, you don't hear anything about the people in the West.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City was a total foreigner for me.
Yeah.
Who was?
Oklahoma City. They still got a team? Oh, yeah.
OKC, yeah.
Hey, we have made it to the witching hour. Gosh, I guess we got to cover mostly everything, but it's been a great conversation. Any final thoughts, Tree?
Just looking forward to Thursday and still following along with the rest of the tournament, the next game, and trying to stay up for that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the draft. I'm gonna keep searching for some Hamptons or maybe some Ewings in the draft, so I can try to claim a cousin or something.
Well, we got one more NBA note. What's that? M.A. Udeko.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
He's back. He's going to coach the Houston Rockets.
Hey, brothers in Houston, watch your women.
Watch your women, Houston. Especially the front office.
Be kind, everyone.
Players coming to town.
I think he's going to give it a shot in the arm because they have really great young talent in Houston, and he's a fine coach. So I look forward to seeing what he's going to do in terms of turning them around and probably having the Rockets probably the best team in Texas next year.
Yeah. Well, that won't be hard to be the best team in Texas now.
San Antonio and Houston. I mean, the Gallups aren't doing much, but okay.
They could be the state champs. So.
There you go. Big state.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get out of here for Tree McDougal and Tim Turner. I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody. See you next Tuesday.
All right. Be kind.